Now I'm very excited to welcome for the first time to this podcast in Mr. Sniper West from the Odds Breakers now and Sniper West Picks. You can follow Wes on X at TheSniperPicks. Wes, how the heck's it going, man? I see a Dodgers hat. I'm not sure how to feel about that, my man.
Well, word to your mother, Kiev. It's your boy Sniper West coming at you from the Odds Breakers. Happy to be part of the team. Thanks, man. It's my first time on the actual podcast, so I kind of feel like I'm losing my virginity on your podcast here, but that's cool. Going to talk some college football. But yeah, we got the Dodgers. We were just talking offline. I don't know how I feel about, they get a week off. I mean, it's kind of like, you win the National League and then you're rewarded with a week off, which makes the bats rusty for when you finally start playing again. So, it is what it is, but we'll see what happens. But we're pretty much decimated with our starting pitching staff. Just every year with us, same old story, just injury after injury. But we'll see what happens. Cross the fingers and go Dodgers.
Yeah, it's funny. I played a game late. I played the Padres minus 1.5 for plus 120-ish, or maybe it was 114 or something. And I didn't give it out. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of late. And they easily roll. I mean, it was just such a great spot for the Padres and a terrible spot for the Braves. I'm really mad at myself for not giving that out, but I can't count it because of it. But, we all have our personal plays too.
Yeah.
I think the Brewers to win the division is interesting right now. I still think they can do it. I don't like their pitcher today, but if they can just shelve Manea for a little bit, sit him down, then get their bullpen up, they have a legit shot today here to win. So we'll see what's going on with baseball. We got to always pay attention to a little baseball. And more importantly, we got college football, my man, to talk about. And I always like to start with overrated and underrated. And apparently this is misspelled on the thing. We have to get into the person that did that. Couldn't have been me or nothing. But overrated, I always like to ask, and I'll start if that's okay. I think UNLV might be a little overrated now. Now, I don't mean from an offensive perspective because Hodge is doing really good. He comes in for Matt Saluka, and he was actually kind of equal to him anyway. I made a stupid bet. I thought the line was going to keep going, and last week I lost in Fresno. I couldn't get back into it. But UNLV was in a perfect spot last week, and now they're laying a lot of points to a Division I team. That's disrespectful. And you know what happens when we'll get to that game. What do you have for an overrated team?
Well, I'll tell you what. A couple weeks ago, you probably remember this game, Appalachian State. Let me tell you something about Appalachian State. They are on my naughty list this year for Christmas because they lost to South Alabama, and South Alabama is not all that good. They lost 48-14 to South Alabama.
I lost money on that.
I did too. I had Appalachian State minus the 7 or 7.5, whatever it was, and they were just a no-show. I don't know what happened there. It was ugly. But yeah, I mean, they had zero rhythm offensively, zero rhythm defensively, just a terrible showing. They didn't get off the bus. They didn't play last week because of the hurricane. They have Marshall this week, and they're actually only +3 at Marshall. So maybe the odds makers actually think they're going to bounce back. But I don't think so. They play like they did against South Alabama. I mean, their season's pretty much over. They have the Raging Cajuns on deck after that, and then Georgia State and Old Dominion. So they're in the midst of a conference run here. But just based on what I saw, I mean, I don't know how they're going to turn the bus around after that game. That was pretty bad.
Dude, it's tough. The bus is flat. And now it's interesting. In the Sun Belt, let's look at the Sun Belt has not started really, but Texas State was the front runner. They're kind of losing now lately. They choked to Sam Houston, but the good news is that they haven't really played any division games yet, or I should say conference games. I just did NFL division. They haven't played many conference games, if any, really yet. And I think that Texas State should be able to. They're probably a good buy-on spot for Texas State. So if you want to go underrated, I'll go with Texas State, man. And yeah. I'd like to say Navy, but they're 10-point favorites at Air Force. I was gonna say Navy, but 10-point favorite isn't really. I think the market's kind of caught up on them when you're going triple type option team. They've gotten a little away from it against Air Force, who should be able to stop them because of it. I feel like they're laying a lot of points there, so they're not. I'm going to go with Texas State as underrated.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing about Texas State. So they're playing Troy here on Thursday, right? And Troy, just an interesting fact about that game. Troy has won the last 9 head-to-head matchups versus Texas State. So we talk about a big revenge spot here for Texas State. I mean, they're laying, I think it might be down to like 11 now, something like that. But I mean, the last 9 head-to-head, that's some big revenge there for Texas State. So maybe they want to give Troy a taste of their own medicine, so to speak.
Yeah, they're second, and I'm looking now to win the Sun Belt. Texas State is second at plus 360, and you got James Madison right back up there now at plus 240. It's just, I guess from a week-to-week perspective, I'll be looking to back Texas State. James Madison looks crazy good, but yet they haven't played much of a schedule yet. North Carolina has been in shambles, since they lost their quarterback. So I'm still a little bit pessimistic. James Madison is not overrated. The market has loved them, and they're almost 16, 17-point favorites at Louisiana Monroe, who just beat Troy last week and won their first 2 games. So it's not like James Madison is underrated. A lot of people think, oh, I'm so keen. I like the Dukes this year. I'm different. No, you're not different. The market, everybody's saying that. They're just not talking to you, buddy. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Texas State as underrated. What about you?
Well, you know what? I kind of like Rutgers, to be honest with you. They're 4-0. They're actually 3-1 against the number, so they're covering spreads too.
Okay.
They're at Nebraska this week. I know you're a Big Ten guy, but they're at Nebraska. They're only a +7 dog against the Cornhuskers, and that's pretty impressive because Nebraska is really good this year, right? They did beat Washington and Virginia Tech. They're putting up 428 yards a game, 240 of which is on the ground, so solid running game. Greg Schiano, he's doing Greg Schiano things. It's a second go around here at Rutgers. And, I think they're a program on the rise. It's probably not their year. And it's tough sledding for them being in the Big Ten. This, Kiev, with Ohio State and all the, all the new talent coming to the Big Ten. But next couple of years, I think they're a program on the rise. I think maybe they can make some noise. They'll probably never be as good as Ohio State, but, maybe they can get up there and maybe the top 5 teams in that conference.
Yeah. I mean, Nebraska is looked at as better. A look ahead line would have Nebraska by more. That ugly Illinois loss hurt Nebraska. I was looking to lay it with Nebraska, but I have no desire to jump into this. If it goes down to 6, maybe I'll do it, but I don't need to lay 7. I got plenty of bets that I've made and more that I plan on making. So, and I have a lot of things circled. So I do have the Rutgers team total over 6. So their win total, not team total, their win total for the season. So I'm very excited about that too. I think they're 4-0. So they're well on their way, and they have literally missing the 5 best teams in the Big Ten this year. They don't have to play any of them. So that is absolutely wonderful for Rutgers, and laying a red carpet out to cashing that over 6. Well, let's talk about some games then, my man. And there's some big games this week, but starting with Friday, we have Michigan State versus Oregon. Oregon plus 24, total 52.5. You picked this game, so you have the floor on this one.
Yeah, so this game's on Fox, so it's prime time on Friday night. And Oregon, they're 4-0. Michigan State is 3-2. Here's my big premise on this game: is Oregon has Ohio State on deck. Okay, so big look ahead spot for them. And they started out a little slow. I mean, they barely beat Idaho, right? They barely beat Boise State, although Boise State is pretty good this year. They played UCLA last week. I laid it with them. I think it was 25.5, and they did not cover. They just kind of never put their foot on the gas. So it just feels like they're lollygagging through the season. I'm sure you probably feel the same way. But Michigan State, they're probably 1 year away from being a really good team. They got blown out by Ohio State, but there's no shame in that because the Buckeyes are really good. They hung tough versus Boston College 2 weeks ago, a game in which I did take Michigan State plus the points, so we covered there. But Michigan State, they do run for 132 a game, 237 a game through the air. So I think they do get in the end zone a couple times. The Spartans have a bye after this game too, so it's not a look-ahead spot for them. And they're facing the number 6 team in the country, so they're going to get up here. And, I just think with the look-ahead spot with Ohio State on deck for Oregon, I think that the Spartans can hang within the 24. I think it's going to be like a 20-point game, something like that. And Oregon also too, I just don't think that Oregon's going to want to open the playbook up and show Ohio State too much as far as plays and stuff like that. So I think they're going to be happy to just get here and get the win and move on to Ohio State next week.
It feels like Oregon didn't figure it out until Oregon State, and then they just bullied Oregon State around. But at the same time, I think this quarterback here, I am just pessimistic, I guess, with Oregon. And I feel like watching Oklahoma last year with Dylan quarterbacking over there, made me a little more pessimistic. I think their schedule minus Ohio State is so freaking easy that they should be able to get to the playoffs. But the other thing is Jonathan Smith for Michigan State has faced them when he coached for Oregon State. He's faced this offense many times. You know, that's a key that this could be a really weird spot for. And I considered Oregon for a survivor because I'm still in that survivor, thank God. But I can't, because this could be one of those scratch your heads. How the hell did this happen? Situation where Michigan State, I mean, I can kind of see it both ways, but this is too many points. You know, Michigan, when a team faces an elite team like an Ohio State, the kids get better the next week. They're embarrassed. They're like, okay, so these guys are my age, but they're beating me like this. They get better. So I don't disagree with that at all. And I might jump on this one as well with you. So good call on that one. So next one we have to discuss is Syracuse versus UNLV. UNLV is -6.5. Total is 58.5. What's funny is that, like I said, I don't think UNLV's defense is that good. I know their offense obviously went big against Fresno last week. No surprise. Big spot for the new quarterback. The team, really big rallying point when they lost their quarterback, being kind of smug. Some of the team stuck up for the rest of the team and said we didn't like him anyway, in a way, right? In a professional kind of way. But you know, UNLV puts up some points, but I think Syracuse can also put up some points. What are your thoughts on this game?
I couldn't agree more, because I'm on the over here. It's 58.5. I think it's a shootout. These teams have never played each other, but yeah, the whole Matthew Sluka thing, and he leaves and he wants his 100K and he never gets paid and he leaves, and they're like, we don't care. We're going to beat Fresno State 49-14. And that's what
was he did, actually right? Promised that 100K?
I don't have any sources and I'm not sure, but that's what came out in the press. So, I mean, you know, it's almost like, what are they thinking? They just pay this new guy 100K because he looks pretty good, right? But
yeah,
I mean, I guess we'll see.
Why would you bother?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. This whole NIL thing is very confusing too. What's promised? I mean, don't you just make sure that you get your money before you go to the school? Like, if it's just a handshake deal, I mean, how do you know they're going to honor that, right? But
right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I do like the over here. So, you know, UNLV, they run the ball a lot, right? 49 rushing attempts per game. So, and they run it very well. So that's what they're going to do. They had 8 yards per play versus Fresno State, and the line did move as far as the side. It's headed toward UNLV. But the total is 58.5, and I like the over. It's a national TV game. I think the Rebels are going to run the ball. That's what they do. They're going to do so successfully. I think they're going to get in the end zone all night. Kyle McCord from Syracuse, 64% passing. His rating's 154. They're number 3 in the country, 372 yards per game through the air. So I think it's a shootout here in Vegas. A lot of points. I mean, remember, UNLV, they just put up 59 on their own versus Fresno State. And I know that's not Syracuse, but I still think there's a lot of points here. I'm going to take the over 58.5.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't disagree with that. And, you know, Syracuse plays at a tempo 25 seconds per snap. They rank about 30th in tempo. Their offense pretty good still, and McCord's a good quarterback. I mean, he played for Ohio State for a reason. Now, was the school a bit too big for him? Maybe, you know, but you know, you have this UNLV team that's coming in, and have they really been tested? Kansas has not been good, and we'll talk about Kansas later. Houston can't even score a freaking point the last 2 games, but they scored 7 here against them. You know, in Fresno, bad spot. But Fresno did put up some yards that game. It was a little bit more of a misleading score. Yeah, I don't disagree at the over at all. I think that was definitely a good look. But I will say this: I'm hoping that UNLV money pours in by Saturday, because I'll be on Syracuse. I don't want 6.5. I want 7 or 7.5. I think I'm going to get it. This is a ranked UNLV team now versus an unranked Division I opponent. Huge disrespect. So that's what I'll be on. And this is very backdoorable. And they might be a little too full of themselves. There's probably a reason that Saluka did start over him, you know. And Haj Malik Williams, he played for Campbell last year, and he was great, but he didn't have to do a ton. He only had to throw 16 passes last game. You know, they were efficient, very well drawn up plays, but I'm sorry. I'll be more mad at myself for not betting Syracuse rather than just leaving it alone and watching it win. Do you understand? It's one of those situations where even if the bet loses, I'd feel more upset if I didn't bet it because of the big spot for Syracuse and the disrespect. So I'll be looking to do that, but I'm not giving it out right now because I have to watch it. Now, if it goes down to 6, 5.5, I might change. I might not do it, but right now, those are my thoughts. Let's move on to Michigan versus Washington. Washington minus 2.5, total 41.5. Very low total. You're kind of building off 2 misleading scores last week. And this is why the market moved on Washington to 3. There was buyback on Michigan, but there's no power rating out there that has Michigan lower than Washington. You can look at Sager and you can look at them all. Michigan's higher than Washington. But the truth is that, how many points can you put on a revenge spot when it's this serious of a revenge? It's serious, and I know a lot of these kids didn't play there. There's transfers coming in, but the younger kids that sat on the bench did, and they're going to be playing, and they're also playing for their school. The school is the one that lost, and Michigan's kind of coming in first true road game. I'm going to probably play a money line. I don't want to lay points in this game, but as long as I'm getting 150 or under, and I'm getting greedy, I hope more Michigan money comes in. I'll take Washington. Washington last week outgained Rutgers by a couple hundred yards. It was significant. And Minnesota outgained Michigan by 40, 50 yards, something like that. It wasn't exactly, it was 296 to 241. So, and I know Michigan was in, I guess, too high shell defense, right? They're probably allowing some of those scores, but still, it's Minnesota here. Minnesota's terrible, and they're putting up yards against you. Michigan also won the turnover ratio, but the fact that it's a true road game for Michigan, big revenge spot. I almost think there's multiple points you can get for a revenge spot this big. I'm going to take them. I'm just not taking them yet.
Yeah, Michigan, they're 1-4, I believe, against the number. So oddsmakers kind of have not figured them out also.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Very bad against the spread. Let's move to the next game. And that is Ole Miss versus South Carolina. South Carolina is a home dog, plus 9.5, total 53.5.
Yes, indeed. And I actually like the under in this game. So Ole Miss comes in here at 4-1. South Carolina is 3-1. And if you remember last week, Ole Miss just a terrible showing versus Kentucky. But Kentucky, they have a good defense. If you remember Kentucky, they held Georgia to under 20 points earlier this year. So I think Kentucky kind of gave South Carolina the blueprint or the game plan here to, handle Lane Kiffin and handle Ole Miss. And keep in mind, this is Ole Miss 6th straight game. They have not had a bye. So in this Gamecock defense, it's pretty good, honestly. They allow 264 a game. That's good for number 20 in the country. Ole Miss, they allow 258 yards per game, good for number 9 in the nation. So I think it's actually a lower scoring game here, just like the Rebels played last week. And Ole Miss, they're 1-4 to the under this year. And the reason for that is because the total's always inflated because they think Lane Kiffin's going to air it out all the time, which they do. But when you have totals of 60 and 65, it's pretty easy for the games to go under. So, Ole Miss has been playing to the under in general, and I think it's going to be a little bit more of a boring game than, kind of like last week in Ole Miss. And I like the under 53.5 here with South Carolina and Ole Miss.
Okay. Here's the thing. Obviously, Ole Miss, they play fast. They rank 6th in tempo, but South Carolina only ranks 80th in tempo. But here's the other thing that's making these overs really tricky. Ole Miss beat Wake Forest 40-6, right? That went under. And the reason it went under is because they're really stopping other teams. I would be scared to bet an over just based upon how good their defense has been playing. And Kentucky got 20. It was one of those weird spots. Kentucky coming off the Georgia game, feeling pretty good about themselves. And then South Carolina, coming on in, and their offense ranks 105th in success rate. Their defense ranks 47th in success rate. So there you go. I would be thinking South Carolina team total under. I like that a little bit as well. You might even be able to win both. You might even be able to take a team total on the Mississippi or that's under itself. Mississippi or South Carolina under. Of course, you just say, why wouldn't I bet the spread? Of course. But in that case, you can win one and lose one too. So it's kind of like I can still even out. So I'm not just betting the spread. So there's different ways to approach it. Different ways to skin a cat, obviously. So no, I don't disagree because of their defense being so tough. Let's move on to the next game. We have Kansas versus ASU. ASU -3. The total on this one is 50. I don't understand what people still are not seeing with Kansas. Why are they such a short dog here? And losing Andy Kotelnicki was much bigger than people thought. Him being the OC at Penn State. Now we're asking Kansas to lose by 3 or less on the road to a very feisty ASU team. ASU coming off a bye and a loss, a tough loss to Texas Tech. That was pretty much a misleading final score. Kansas's strength has been really their rushing. They ranked 25th in success rate. I think it's a pretty good yards per rush. But the problem for them is that ASU's strength is stopping the run. They rank 6th in opponent yards per rush. They're only allowing 2.55 yards per rush. That's huge. Yeah. And that's only Kansas is Jaden Daniels can't throw the ball right now. His receivers aren't good. They're in the wrong place, or he is, or their offensive coordinator sucks now, right? I think that was a bad move. Sun Devils should be able to run the ball. They rank 25th in rushing success rate. Kansas ranks 66th in success rate and stopping the run. Scalabro has some of the most yards as a running back, Cam Scalabro, for ASU. And he's averaging over 5 yards per rush, 5 TDs over 4 games. Jayhawks 0-5 against the spread. I think they go down to 0-6. This is one of those teams. I'm taking the Sun Devils. I laid 3, man, and it's coming down, which is really weird. I disagree with it. I'm laying 3.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I was actually just looking at that 0-5 against the number 2. It's kind of funny. I mean, we're talking about Michigan 1-4. Kansas hasn't even covered a game yet. Poor suckers.
Yeah, it's like terrible.
People betting on Kansas.
Who wants to give their money away?
Yeah.
That's really what it is, man. They are just looking pathetic right now, So, yeah, I definitely like ASU, and I know Kansas. They faced Illinois. They play some, face some tough situations, but losing to West Virginia, teams with no defense whatsoever. That worries you a little bit. I know UNLV's good, so we'll give them a pass, but going to ASU is a different story, and it's a night game in ASU. It's a night game. I saw what ASU did to Wyoming in the night game. It was pretty brutal. I'm okay with lane 3 here. Let's move on to the next game. Missouri versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M -2.5, total 48.5. You pick this. What do you got for me, Wes?
Well, this is actually talk about the schedule in college football this week. This is the only ranked versus ranked matchup. You have number 9 Missouri and number 25 Texas A&M. It's pretty crazy. There's only one game where it's ranked versus ranked, and this is it, right? So the line actually opened A&M -4.5. It's been bet down, so I don't really know if it's sharp money or public money. Who really knows? But Missouri, on offense, they returned 9 guys. Their defense returned 5. Brady Cook, he's been a little bit down this year, honestly, for Missouri. And the Aggies, they had that tough loss against Notre Dame to start the year. They have won 4 straight after that game. But are they going to be able to really run the ball here versus the Tigers? And I just don't know if they will. I think they might have some trouble. Missouri, they have a great run defense. And I kind of think that Brady Cook becomes the Brady Cook of old here. I think this is where he's going to finally show up and have a really good performance. He's just been kind of blah all year, right? So I like the +2. We're getting +2 currently. I just think A&M is vulnerable, and Missouri shows up here. They do well on the road. I mean, they are the number 9 team in the country versus the number 25 team, and I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to win the game outright. To be honest with you, for purposes of the show, I'll take the +2 and put them in my back pocket. But I think this might be the week where Missouri really busts out and has a really good game on all fronts.
Yeah, no disagreement. Missouri is so dang good. They're coming off the bye. My only problem is that it's their first true road game. So let's see how they do it. Now they've done it last year with the same group, though. They returned like some of the highest amount of production last year. What's interesting about Texas A&M? They were talking about Connor Wegman coming off the injury list. It's like, why? Who cares, dude? He sucks. It's like, obviously Marcel Reed is killing it over there, the freshman. So you keep Marcel Reed in. But I kind of like the under, dude. 48.5. Missouri's defense is fantastic. When you told me about that game, I did research and I have it at Pick'em, so I lean Missouri. But I also think that this under looks red hot right now. Being that Missouri doesn't exactly play super fast, they kind of rank in the middle at 64th. And then A&M, they're all defensive team, ranking 89th in tempo. Missouri's defense ranks 3rd in success rate, 16th in rushing, 3rd in passing. Defensive line yards, they rank 6th. Their defense just looks really good. And I like the under 48. So I'm actually gonna make that official play. You'll take Missouri, right? And I'll take under.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that under. I mean, if you remember too, Notre Dame, they went in and they beat A&M, and Missouri's way better than Notre Dame. So, why shouldn't Missouri really do well here? That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Why shouldn't they? They should do, they should come on. I like them coming off the bye. That's a good situation. I have Missouri -2 on my numbers. I thought it was pick 'em, but no, I have Missouri -2. So I'm with you. Give me the 3, baby. I'll be there all day with you. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Miami versus Cal. And Cal is plus 10.5. Total in this game is 55. So this one's interesting because I think that Miami is in a terrible spot. Freaking terrible spot. That win against Virginia Tech was just crazy. Now they got the extra day rest, but so what? Because Cal's coming off a bye. Cal's got +6 on them, and it's not like Cal's a bad team. Did they lose to Florida State? Yes, but it was such a bad spot for them, such a good spot for Florida State. It was their second week on the East Coast, and it's not like these kids can stay on the East Coast like NFL players. They gotta go back to school. It's not the same deal. At least I don't think it is. Maybe if I'm wrong, let me know. I've never seen that. But no, Cal's a better team than people think, and Miami's defense looked very suspect last week against a Virginia Tech team. I've had this game circled for a while. The Bears played very well at Auburn, and that's shows me that they can put up points. I mean, Auburn should have beat Oklahoma minus that stupid pick 6 last week that killed me.
Yeah.
Miami, they haven't played even as good of a schedule as Cal, and they got a little boost for Virginia Tech, but they've been. Florida's a terrible freaking team. I mean, you're really going to give them a lot of credit for beating Florida. I'm not. Fernando Mendoza is a nice 67.5 completion percentage, 138 passer rating. Justin Wilcox has experience playing against Mario Cristobal when Cristobal coached in Oregon. He's got experience against him. So he also faced Cam Ward last year, the quarterback at Washington State, and they beat him. They beat Cam Ward last year. Now, it's not like playing the defense, but they won 42-39. Cal's defense is good enough to slow down Miami's offense. They rank 67th in success rate, 32 against the run. I like the Bears with the hook. I got 13, but I still like it at 10.5. So that's my other play, Bears plus 10.5, man.
The other big thing here for me, the biggest thing really is just the travel. I mean, when's the last time you remember Miami going to California to play a game in the middle of the season? I don't remember. So, and Cal beating an SEC team. They beat Auburn. And, I mean, you beat any SEC team outside of Vanderbilt, and that's pretty impressive. And also, too, Cal, before the bye, they lost 14-9 to FSU, and FSU's not all that good. So they have, they want to bounce back after that loss. And you have Miami with some possible jet lag here. So, I really like that play. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind sprinkling some money line on Cal over Miami.
Oh, every dog I play 3.5 or more, I sprinkle the money line. I just think that there's the value there. I always do that. But shop your money lines. A lot of these books are way different than money lines because they try to screw you that way. Yeah, shop your money lines for sure. That's very important.
That would be talk about a segue. That actually would be a good beer bet is Cal money line. But we'll get there when we get there.
Oh yeah, not bad. That's very true. Well, I don't have any games written after this. Do you want to talk a little hodgepodge maybe? Let maybe throw out another game. UCLA Penn State's one of the biggest spreads. Now I'm not touching UCLA, although this is kind of one of those games that you'd think maybe Penn State has the hiccup like they did against Bowling Green. So that UCLA is so freaking embarrassed, but they also have just a terrible coach. I'm thinking about using Penn State as my survivor, but I'll tell you, it's either them or UConn, and it's hard to bet UConn against Temple. Temple's beaten them eight times in the last 10, but they haven't played since 2019. and I just feel like Temple's so desperate. So it's between those two. I'm really hoping for some upsets this week. I'm hoping MSU gets Oregon because that would knock out a ton of people. Maybe Houston gets TCU, but I think that TCU is better. TCU is my other possible, but Houston was so embarrassed the last 2 weeks. It's like dangerous. Wisconsin, Purdue. I think that spread's probably a little too high. I'm a Badger fan. I'm a Badger alumni, but why the hell would Wisconsin be laying 14 points against anyone with that piss poor offense? They have no quarterback there. I would look to Purdue that game. Army's like a big -12 against Tulsa. Now Tulsa's pathetic, but I find that interesting. I already have a premium play on Pittsburgh, North Carolina. What about like Auburn, Georgia? Did you look at that one?
I did not really look at that game, but I do. You know what I do like? I like as far as like some beer money. I kind of like Colorado State over Oregon State here. You can get them plus 360. Oregon State's 3-1. Colorado State is 2-2. It's in Corvallis. But I just think that Oregon State, I mean, why would they care about Colorado State? You know what I mean? It's just a game that I don't even have any interest in. Colorado State, they run for 174 yards a game on the ground, so I think they can eat up some clock. And Oregon State, obviously, they have a great running game, but I think Colorado State can defend the run pretty well because they only give up 3.8 yards per rush. So I kind of think if they can just slow down the game, play keep away, stay on the field, and keep Oregon State at bay, I think they got a shot at the money line here, some plus 360, over Oregon State. Well, I mean, why not? I mean,
sure. That's very Oregon State looks very suspect this year. It's a tough bet because Colorado State's look so bad, but now that Colorado's looking better, it kind of gives them a little bit of an out there, So kind of helps them a little bit. Bama Vanderbilt. This thing keeps going down, and I don't know if I disagree with it going down so much. Now, I would look to maybe Vandy in the first half. I think it's like Bama could start out slow after that Georgia letdown spot, and how do you not like the quarterback over there? I don't know why his name's venturing my head right now, but that played for New Mexico. He's a little baller, man, and he actually. Is a very fast runner. I think he ran like a 10.5 40 when he ran Diego Pavia. That's it. Diego Pavia. He's a little baller. He also leads the team in rushing, 71 attempts, 279 yards, a couple TDs. Yeah, they could mess with Alabama a little bit now. Yeah, maybe first half sprinkle. I can see that.
Yeah, it's just a gigantic letdown spot for Bama after that win over Georgia. They're just, they're partying off that win. I mean, that win is monumental for them, which is funny because they still could play 2 more times this year, right? Alabama and Georgia, right? But, this is a spot where why would they care about Vanderbilt? They just beat Georgia. They're flying high. Let's just come in here, get a 14-point win and move on, right? I could totally see anything in here.
Money's coming in Iowa versus Ohio State. Now, a lot of power rankings have Iowa a little higher than they should be, in my opinion, because when they play a passing team like Ohio State, and Ohio State can run the ball, of course, too. They can do everything. But I don't see how Iowa scores against Ohio State. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if this is 28-3 at the end or 35-10. Or, I'm waiting for this to go down and down. And I'll be on Ohio State if it gets into the teens a little bit more. There's a couple books throwing out 19.5 right now, but I think that the way you beat Iowa is over the top, and Ohio State can do that. So I think their studs, Abuka and Smith and everything, is going to make a lot of promise for Iowa's defense. Yeah, Iowa's built to beat the Badgers and teams like that, the running teams. But dude, they're not going to beat the stud teams like Ohio State like that. So I could see an embarrassment. I think this is just too much contrarianness on this Iowa, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, their offense is finally up this year. Kirk Ferentz and just run the ball. And finally, they're actually starting to score some points this year. But 19.5 is probably right where the number needs to be honest with you. But I wouldn't mind going over here as well.
Absolutely. How about some beer bet bangers, man? It is time for beer bet bangers, and I'm going with this one, even though I don't know. I just talk crap about him, of course. But Dylan Gabriel for Oregon, he's 18-1 for Heisman, and I gave out Nico Iamaleava, who at a bad number at 9-1. Now he's 15-1 on FanDuel. But the truth is, and I have to stop doing this because I'm literally playing against Jalen Milroe. I'm playing all these freaking long shots against Jalen Milroe, they can all go to hell. But I expect Jalen Milroe to also have his lull in the season. And Dylan Gabriel, if somehow they do beat Ohio State, you know, he might move up to front runner. But even if he doesn't beat Ohio State, say it's like somewhat of a close game. I mean, the rest of the games for Oregon are so easy. And I heard Veasan, Adam Burke talking about this, so I'm going to give him some credit for it on his show. But, you know, Oregon's got Michigan State, obviously this game. And then after Ohio State, it's at Purdue, home against Illinois, at Michigan. Michigan ain't nothing this year. Maryland at home, at Wisconsin, who should be blown away, and Washington in a revenge spot at home. This gets his yards kind of. So I 18-1, I had to put a little beer money on it, my man. What about you, Wes?
So that was for the Heisman?
Yeah, it's for Heisman.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, as far as the bangers, I mean, I kind of like Colorado State was my banger, just the plus 360 right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I do like Cal. Going back to that, because if you hadn't done that Cal game, Cal was gonna be my banger right there. So I mean, I like Cal a little bit of money on the money line. I like Colorado State a little bit of money on the money line. So here, how about this? How about a 2-team money line parlay with Cal and Colorado State? That's got to be some like plus 900 or something like that, I would think.
Oh, at least, dude. Hold on, I'm going to find out what that is right now. Did you see? You said Cal and who?
Cal and Colorado State money line.
All right, Cal. Oh, that's going to be like 20-1. Colorado State. I'm putting it in right now.
It's basically 2 plus 360.
18-1, 17.9 to 1. So
there you go. I got right up there with you at the 18-1 range. So
yeah, buddy. Well, geez, yours would be paid a lot quicker. I mean, little bit of beer money on that. Why not? Yeah, I could definitely see Cal winning this game outright. That's why I like Cal so much. When you asked me about that game, you asked what my lean was, and I was like, I bet it's the same as yours, Cal. It worked out for us, man. But hey, great stuff, Sniper Wes. Love your videos. Where could our listeners and viewers get your great information and plays?
Yeah, you can find me on X over at TheSniperPicks and the Oddsbreaker. I do videos for the Oddsbreakers every day, so check out the Oddsbreakers YouTube channel, as well as we have a Telegram channel as well where we send out all kinds of information. So the Oddsbreakers and at TheSniperPicks.
All right, check out Sniper Wes at the Oddsbreakers, obviously on his Twitter at TheSniperPicks. Thanks, Wes. We'll be talking this weekend, my man.
All right, sounds good. UFC. We'll go over UFC later.
All right, let's do it.